All right, welcome to this week's Points and Miles report here on Traveling on Everyday Spend. It's been a big week. Alaska has been the news, and I've definitely got a lot of thoughts in regards to it. But more importantly, I want to get get you beyond the credit cards. There's a lot of stories within the credit cards by themselves, and a lot of good information. But I think that one of the things that a lot of people are missing is the changes to the ATMOS loyalty program. And so we're going to go in depth into that so that you can truly see what the differences are now and how much better it is. And so when I talk about Alaska Airlines possibly taking the mantle, I'm not just talking about the credit cards, I'm talking about the loyalty program as well. And of course, we've got a lot of other things to cover. So I won't waste your time with too much. Let's just jump right on into it here. And get that here. All right. So as far as the credit card bonuses, there are some things that we do need to touch upon here. And it's going to basically start with the Alaska Airline cards. The interesting aspect that we're seeing right now is that even though they have the newly rebranded personal Alaska credit card, which is now called the Atmos Ascent credit card, if you go to the Bank of America website, they are still doing the quote unquote old version of the card. And the new version of the card is on the Alaska website. So you still have, under the old quote unquote version, the 50,000 bonus points plus the buy one ticket, get one for just the taxes and fees. That's for $3,000 in spend in the first 90 days of account opening. Now, for the Atmos Ascent, it's 80,000 points plus a $99 companion certificate for $4,000 worth of spend in the first 4 months. So clearly, the welcome bonus is much better on the newest version of the card. So definitely make sure you're aware of that if you're looking at the personal card. Then you have the Atmos Business Credit Card, which has the same 80,000 points plus the $99 companion certificate. The difference is it's a $5,000 spend in the first 3 months. So definitely be prepared for that. And then, of course, we have the flagship card, the Alaska Atmos Summit Visa Infinite. A lot of words, but a very powerful card. $395 annual fee. You're going to get 100,000 points. Now, under Atmos, they've changed from miles to points, so that's why I'm referring to it as points. 100,000 points plus a 25,000 point Global Companion Award. That's for $6,000 in spend, and it's in only 90 days. So if you're looking at getting the card, make sure that you plan accordingly for that spend so that it is within your normal everyday spend. So we have that for Bank of America. And then the other ones I would point out is the Chase Sapphire Preferred is still at the 75,000 points after $5,000 in purchases in the first 3 months. Now, the Sapphire Reserve, we did see the change that most of us were expecting to see. And mainly because we really were able to tell that the 100,000 point plus the $500 certificate, or I'm sorry, credit on the portal was not really working because they really ended that very quickly. It got announced, and then within a few days, it ended. So they are now in. So clearly, it did not work well for them. So now they have moved to a straight 125,000 point bonus for $6,000 in purchases in the first 3 months, and it makes it the best bonus offer that it's had in points. Now, I'm sure there's probably going to be some people, maybe even a lot of people, and I'll be curious of what your thoughts of it are in the chat, or if you're watching this afterwards, in the comments. Did you prefer the 100,000 points plus the $500 certificate, or are you more interested in that 125,000 point straight welcome bonus? So we have that, and we're going to have to just see how that goes for a bit of time. I'll point out the World of Hyatt card because we're going into the final week of that card being available for 2 category 1 to 4 certificates for $4,000 in spend in the first 3 months. Now, and you can earn an additional 25,000 points after spending $12,000 in the first 6 months, which may or may not be the most ideal for a 25,000 point conversion. You'll have to make the decision on that. I always tell people, and I'm sure many of you all already know, when you're dealing with these certificates, you've got 1 year to use them. And more importantly, you really need to have a plan of how you're going to maximize those, especially if you're trying to get it on a 1 to 4 category of seeing what those category 4s look like. So that's what we have for that. And then I would end up pointing out the Southwest cards still have that 100,000 points after $4,000 in purchases in the first 5 months. They all have the same exact welcome bonus. So you can make your determination of how much you might be a frequent flyer of Southwest to see which one may work for you. Now we got to touch on Barclays, and there's a few things to touch on with them. Number one, we still have the JetBlue cards, the Plus, the Premier, and the Business, which I talked about, the thing, the kind of that pitfall that you have to be careful if you look at the Premier card because of it being $4.99, but having many of the same benefits as the $99 Plus card. So keep that in mind. So we have that. But the bigger thing that we need to talk about is Hawaiian Airlines Mastercard. So they have there is a promo that you could look at, and this would normally be one if you flew Hawaiian Airlines where you could put in a promo code to get a better offer. And so right now, and I'll have a link for this in the description, not one of mine by any means, but one I came across. Promo is 80,000 miles with Hawaiian Airlines Mastercard for $2,500 in spend in the first 90 days. Now, the card has a $99 annual fee, but when you go onto that site, hopefully it's still working. You should be able to put in any 6-digit number, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and be able to put that into there to be able to qualify for that. If for any unfortunate reason it is no longer working, and it was working before I got on tonight, is the regular offer right now is not elevated. 50,000 miles for $2,000 in spend in the first 90 days, plus 30,000 additional miles for a total of $5,000 spent in the first 180 days. So make sure to check that out as far as that Hawaiian Airlines MasterCard. Now, I will also point out earlier today, there was basically a talk of a promo that it was not a promo, but there was a 70,000 point Aviator Red option to be able to do. But when I ended up trying to click on it about 3 hours ago, the link wasn't working. And then when I finally did get it to work just before coming on, I only see it at 50,000 points. So I will continue to try to see if that 70,000 point is still out there somewhere, but it wasn't with the link that I originally had seen was working. So I'm going to make sure to take a look at that as well. The Aviator Red I raised because that one was basically at 70,000 points when it's normally at 50,000 points. And the rumor is that they will stop taking applications as of September 30th. So if you do see an elevated offer and you do have interest in the Aviator Red, that's probably the time frame that you need to kind of keep an eye on as a possibility of you not having it anymore as an option. And then as far as the other cards, obviously the Citi Strata Elite at $595 for the 80,000 points with $4,000 in spend in the first 3 months. And then, of course, the Citi Strata, which I think is an outstanding no annual fee card, 30,000 points for $1,000 in spend in the first 3 months. So those are the bonus offers that we're looking at as of right now. And I want to make sure to say, Ian, hello. Thanks for stopping in. Really appreciate it. Thanks so much. And good to see you. Call me Lonnie. Really appreciate it, sir. If you all have ever been on this live stream, you know that there are some really good guys that are doing this type of content, and Lonnie is definitely up there with them. Love his content, really great sense of humor in his work. So if you definitely want to learn a lot, I would definitely suggest to make sure to check out his channel. So thanks so much for stopping in. Let's as far as the transfer bonuses, we're in the middle of the month. We're not going to find too much going on, but I do want to hit on them. 15% through Capital One through August 31st is the transfer bonus. IHG 100% bonus through September 4th with Chase, and then leading hotels of the world through tomorrow with Citi for 25%. The reality in 99% of these cases is that if you are going to transfer points from these flexible type of currencies, Capital One miles, Chase membership, Chase Ultimate Rewards, Citi thank you points, is that you really are only doing them to top them off. The biggest value is in those flexible points. And we're going to touch on something with IHG in a bit as well. So that's what we have for transfer bonuses. Now, as far as the points and miles opportunities, as I always talk about, I'm only touching on the ones that are brand new or the ones that are ending. And there are a number of additional ones. I make sure to put as many links as possible in the description so that you can be able to peruse them at your own leisure. But let's touch on some of the ones that we've got for this week. Air Canada, you can buy their points with an up to 85% bonus. Now, it does run all the way to September 10th. You basically will, once you get to the 70,000 point purchase mark, you can then trigger that 85%, and now you're at 1.46 cents per mile. As I've talked about before, these are just baseline numbers, but it is less than what most people value Air Canada miles. So don't necessarily view it as something that you need to stock up on, because they still can devalue. But if you do have something, and Air Canada Aeroplan is very versatile, if there is something of interest, you might want to consider that, but they do have a number of transfer partners as well. There is a 1 million point max for purchase per year, and you can have a max of 500,000 points or miles per transaction. Leading hotels of the world, you can buy their points with up to a 100% bonus. That is new, ending September 12th. Now, the max points you can purchase is 50,000. Now, if you're not familiar with leading hotels of the world, though, it is a very high-priced currency for their points. So if you bought this out, 50,000 points, and you got the 50,000 on top of that, 50,000 points is going to cost you $6,000. So 100,000 points for $6,000 puts you at 6 cents per point. Now, that is very high. But I wanted to provide an example if this was in the realm of the way you travel. The Skyteam, I believe it's pronounced, Miami Beach, is going to be opening in February of 2026. The room rate on that is going to be roughly $1,200 a night. But it costs you 15,000 points. If you did this deal and bought the 15,000 points you needed, you would pay $900 worth. So for that type of stay, you've now saved $300 a night versus paying a cash rate. So leading hotels is very expensive, but it is for expensive hotels. So if there is something in there, that's why you would look at this type of thing. Otherwise, probably not something that you're going to pay too much attention to. And then as far as Qatar, we can buy points with up to a 60% bonus. And at the 60% bonus, that's 42,000 avios. And that's 42,000 to 250,000, which is the cap per year of what you can buy, gift, or transfer. That would put you at 1.43 cents per mile, which is a competitive number. But once again, you're going to determine what the value of it is based upon the redemption that you identify. And so let's move on to IHG, which we talked about. Now that one is you can buy points at a 100% bonus, although your mileage may vary in regards to it. And it starts as low as 5,000 points, and that puts you at half a cent per point, which is pretty much the baseline of what most people value IHG at. Southwest, you can buy points and qualify for a 45% discount. That's going to run through August the 31st. What's good about it, at least, is it begins at 2,000 miles to 60,000 miles. That's going to put you at 1.65 cents per mile, probably more of a top off, if anything, for most people with Southwest. ITA Airways, they've got 20% off of their entire network. It doesn't matter where you're flying, it doesn't matter where you're originating from, but it's 20% across the board. You can book by August the 25th, and there is a discount code for that, which is on board. Now, the discount is only on the base fare, though, so it doesn't include taxes, surcharges, and such. So make sure to check your numbers to make sure of exactly what it would cost you. Now, as far as if you haven't flown ITA before, the US gateways are Boston, Chicago, Los Angeles, Miami, JFK, San Francisco, and Dulles in Washington, D.C. This is good for travel between September 15th, and really nice, all the way through March 31st of 2026. So if you already might be on a route that they have or are considering them, 20% can be a nice sweetener on top of that. And then lastly, Avianca, you can buy miles and get up to 165% bonus. That runs through September 2nd, and it starts off at 145% bonus as with just a purchase of 1,000 miles for that. If you get to the 165% mark, you're going to be at 1.25 cents per mile. And at that number, you are now kind of under what the baseline is. And Avianca is very versatile, a lot like we've talked about with Air Canada, Aeroplan. So a lot of people are really big fans of Avianca. And if you have the co-branded card, you can also be able to that's with points. So my apologies. But 1.25 cents per mile could be a good deal for you if that's something you're looking at. And let me make sure to check in there. Okay. So a few quick notes that I want to bring to your attention. The Qantas A380 is being reinstated to fly nonstop from Dallas-Fort Worth to Sydney. And they used to fly through Dallas-Fort Worth, but that had stopped. Now it will be returning October 27th. They currently use the 787 Dreamliner. I don't think this is going to impact the A380 that is flying out of LAX. I have been a fan of the A380 because of how different it is. And I had the opportunity to fly that plane in first class to Sydney, and it was amazing as far as being on the plane and what it had. So if it's something that it might be on your bucket list or a possible option, I will definitely throw in my hat to say it is a really nice experience on the A380, especially if you're business class or up, because then you get a little bit of access to the lounge, which is not like the ones that we see from the Middle Eastern ones, but it's still quite nice. The second item is the Centurion Lounge at Dallas-Fort Worth. Now, that lounge is currently located at Terminal D near Gate 12, and it has approval for a 50% size increase, which will bring it to over 18,000 square feet. Now, we don't have a timeline of when that's going to end up happening. It just got approval from from the board that deals with that airport. So if it is a place that you fly out of, that is something that is on the horizon for you. Then the Swiss Grand Suite. Now, this is pretty interesting, and I'm going to make sure I have a link for their Swiss's webpage so that you can see the images of this. So later this year, they're going to have on their A350 what they call the Grand Suite and the Grand Suite Plus. Now, the Grand Suite it's in a 1-2-1 format. And for the Grand Suite, they're going to utilize the 2 center seats. And then if you do the Grand Suite Plus, it will include one of those side suites in the 1-2-1. Now, the area will be effectively enclosed because the walls are going to be nearly 6 feet high. So essentially, you're going to be the top of the place. The pictures are really good. It is very interesting. It is a good size for it. The only unfortunate part is, at least for us people that are in points and miles, is that it is not expected to be offered as something for you to be able to do through points and miles. Although maybe we will see an option where you can go into one level below it and be able to buy your way in or use points to get in that way. we still are a little ways out from that. It will be the one from the United States will be flying out of Boston. So, but I'll make sure I have the link for that. I'll be curious if you all's thoughts of what it looks like and what you think of what it's going to look like. And the Delta route race. Now, what they're doing right now is they're allowing Delta SkyMiles members to be able to decide what the next route that Delta is going to be doing, and whether it's to Malta, Sardinia, or Ibiza. Now, Malta, for those that may not be well aware, and I had to look a little bit myself, it's a Mediterranean island between Sicily and Northern Africa. Beautiful area. Definitely was looking at that earlier today. Sardinia is off the coast of Italy, and Ibiza is off the coast of Spain. So for SkyMile members, you can vote on this between August the 25th and August the 29th. It is only through the mobile app, though, so you won't be able to do it from your desktop. And whatever one gets selected, it's going to fly out of JFK. So if you're a person that's interested in, throw your hat in to make a decision on that. Alaska and Starlink, and we're going to have a lot of talk about Alaska, but Alaska is beginning to outfit their entire fleet with Starlink. And what is interesting is that we've heard about it from other airlines, especially the US ones, but Hawaiian was actually the very first airline US to have Starlink. And so now Alaska will be doing that as well. So the installation for Starlink will begin in December, and they expect to have the entire fleet completed by early 2027. Now, we don't know what we've seen different stages of how different airlines have done it before, where United did their upgrades with the regional ones before they moved to the long haul ones. We don't know what we're going to see with Alaska, so we'll have to kind of keep an eye out for that. And then if you fly out of Boston, the Air France lounge had closed in March for renovations. Well, it's now reopened. And for that location, the lounge is in Terminal E near Gate 4. The only thing about this location, at least from what I've read, I've not been there. If you've been there, let me know your thoughts on this. They say it's a bit of a dungeon because it doesn't have windows. So it's not like you're going to get any view. What they did really was more of a refresh, not a renovation of the lounge. So it looks much more bright and airy from what I've seen between past pictures and what it looks like now. Unfortunately, it is a pretty small lounge at just under 6,000 square feet, and it can only accommodate 126 flyers. So something that really was a benefit, but it's still a very small part of what is available there in Boston. So that is what we have there for the quick notes. And let's make sure. Okay, so let's move on let's talk about rapid reward points with Southwest and being able to use them to go to Asia based upon a new partnership that they essentially formalized this week. So earlier this year, we obviously have known that Southwest announced a partnership with China Airlines. And on Wednesday, they went through a ceremony to really make it official. And now you can book a seamless experience between the two airlines. So it's taking Southwest to one of the gateways, which would be LAX, Phoenix, San Francisco, Seattle, and then Ontario, which is the Ontario in California. So connecting flights will start January 19th. You can already start booking that to have that process go. Now, they say they are going to accelerate the plan of making partner reward earnings and bookings active, which is obviously the main thing that we're going to be looking for. Now, China Airlines, if you're not familiar with them, they're not an airline out of China, but they're an airline out of Taiwan. And they're one of the three that are Taiwanese airlines. You've got EVA Airways, which has been there for a bit. Starlux is the newest one. And then China Airlines has kind of been the forgotten one for a bit, but really very good reputation. And all three have excellent reputations. I'm actually going to fly the China airline out of Vancouver to Taipei in February for their Lunar New Year. And so I'm looking forward to seeing what that looks like for that. Now, what is Southwest doing? Well, they had talked about their commitment to making themselves have a much more global reach just last year, and they have moved at pretty much lightning speed. They ended up connecting with Iceland Air first, and that has already started and flourishing. And now you have China Airlines. Now, the benefits that end up applying to both of them essentially, one, for Southwest, they're able to get a bit of a global reach for their, especially for their members, to be able to use their points in for to whether they're flying or earning or using them. At least that's the plan for those, and we're starting to see how that might play out. Without the fact that they obviously are not a long haul flight airline, and they don't have the airlines to be able to do that. So with these partnerships, they're able to utilize partnerships to get that type of reach that they can't do on their own. Now they are saying that it is not out of the question for them to go that route down the line, but I don't foresee them doing anything with that anytime in the near future. They also asked them about their seating, and I've talked about this when we've talked about their credit cards, is that it's not a very good option with Southwest with their seating. The best seat you can get is essentially a preferred seat, which has a little bit more leg room, and you're closer to the front of the airline. There is no first class. Now, they say that there is a chance that they could be looking at first class down the line, but we have no timeline. I don't expect anything to happen with that anytime soon, but that's the kind of options that we're looking at when it comes to Southwest as they continue to try to build out getting partners to be able to extend their reach across the world. Let's jump in Alaska again, and this is specifically for certain West Coast residents. And you'll understand this when I end up pointing this out. So this is for people that are going to be in the Los Angeles, Portland, San Diego, San Francisco, or Seattle areas. And this promotion is called Goals Go Further promotion. This is where it's tying in with football clubs, soccer for football. And this is specific to the Los Angeles Galaxy, the Portland Thorns, the San Diego Wave, San Diego Football Club, and the Seattle Reign. You have to be, from what I read about it, you need to be within 75 miles of these football clubs. And if you do, and you can register, and I'll have a link, there's a different link for each of those teams. I'll make sure to have the links in the description. Make sure you register. And if you register and do this, for every goal that they have at home games, you'll get 100 ATMOS points for every goal. I did not see that there was a cap. So if you get 15 goals, then you get you're doing that times 100 for each one of those goals. So it could rack up a few bit of points for that. So that is what we have for that option. And like I said, I'll make sure to have the links in the description. And then let's talk about Qatar. I always got to get better with the titles of these. So for Qatar, they're going to have their first U.S. lounge, and they've chosen JFK for this. And I raised this because I think that this is going to be pretty much the standard for a ground experience at JFK. And this is part of the $19 billion operation that is over there that's going to open in 2026, 15,000 square feet. It's only the 6th lounge that they've had outside of Doha. Bangkok, Beirut, London, Paris, and Singapore are the only other locations around the world of this. But they're going to introduce a premium business class lounge right there at JFK. And as far as that ground experience, it's one that I would have normally seen in Europe or even the Middle East for that point, not normally the United States, is the fact that VIP check-in in service, premium dining, for business class travelers, you're going to be able to board the plane from the lounge. Might seem like a pretty small thing. It's definitely something that's enamored me about if you're going to pay or use points to be able to fly business or first class or whatever that may be, for all of those little extra things that you're able to do on the ground to come to accompany what you get in the air. I think that Delta One is something along that line, although I haven't done anything with it. I'm curious if any of you all have been into the new Delta One lounges in regards to that, because I think that either LAX is supposed to be something similar like that. I don't think they do it at JFK, but let me know your thoughts in regards to that, because it's definitely something I'm not completely aware of. Let's talk about the US Open. And this is for the people that are playing tennis or have an interest in it. Now, a lot of times we've seen Chase have some different promotions around the US Open, and we've also seen American Express have a footprint there as well. IHG is a bit new to this, so let's talk about what both of them may offer that might be something to build on the experience if you happen to go. So for IHG, they are going to have bid on the baseline sweepstakes. You have to register by September 7th, and the winner and a guest will receive the following. You're going to get a 4-hour bid on the baseline experience on September 15th, black card transfer to the stadium, and then a luxurious breakfast in bed experience with IHG robes and slippers right there at the tennis court. You don't have to pay. This is strictly a sweepstakes. I'll have a link for that in the description, and you might as well throw your hat into it. The other item would be is that they're going to have an IHG sponsor booth for some free swag for IHG One Reward members. And then lastly, you'll also have IHG Sponsor Day, which has an activation space for people to take social media pictures, portable fan upon entry while they last. And they're going to also have a racket bar. Now, the bars are going to be open from August the 24th to September 7th. And if you're not too familiar with the US Open, it's something that runs for nearly 2 weeks. So that's why you're seeing such a wide range of that time frame. And their specialty drink is the watermelon slice, which will be with Moet, Shandon, I think it's pronounced, watermelon juice, elderflower liqueur, and lime, garnished with a watermelon slice in a collectible cup. So, but it's not restricted. We're not seeing that kind of restriction as we're going to see when we talk about Chase with what they're going to be doing with the US Open. And so Chase, now we move to them, complimentary mobile charger rentals. You can grab a complimentary charger at the Chase charging zone, which would be not near the main entry, or by the Chase booths at the Fountain Plaza. They also have the 2025 Stars of the Open, and it's an exhibition event that's going to be on August the 21st with tennis stars playing with celebrities. Tickets cost $30, and a portion of those proceeds go to the United States Tennis Association, or the USTA, to basically bring tennis and education programs to underserved communities. Now, what's really nice about Chase when they're there is the terrace and the lounge. So the Chase Terrace is located on the backside of the grandstand, overlooking courts 8, 9, and 10. You do need to have a Chase card to be able to enter for that. Now, for the Chase Lounge, you basically are going to have it open during Fan Week, which is August the 18th through August the 23rd. It's a first come, first serve, and they're only open from 11 to 2, Monday through Thursday. Reservations are going to be required for that, and you can do up to 4 reservations, and those are basically sessions. So when you go on the website, and I'll have a link for that, you'll be able to select what sessions you want to be able to have access to the lounge. So it's a really nice touch. It's got at least it's a little bit restrictive so that it's not overcrowded. So those are the things that you're looking at for the US Open as options. And so now let's talk about Alaska ATMOS, this loyalty program. Now, as far as when we talk about the credit cards and what Alaska is doing, I'm basically saying that when I'm talking about the Alaska cards, I truly believe that they have set the new standard for airline credit cards. Now, that doesn't make them perfect. There is a shortfall that we'll definitely touch upon. But outside of that, and I might as well go and cover it now. The only downfall that I see with the Atmos, which is the 395 credit card, is that if you're a person that is flying a lot or fly with a lot of family, you're only getting 8 lounge passes, two per quarter for you to be able to utilize. But it is a $395 card, so it's not that surprising. But what you can do with that card and accumulate with it is really impressive. But that's for that part. Then you also have obviously the rebranding of the personal card to the Ascent as in one that has another, which has a really good value proposition for that. And once again, you still have the option if you're renting with that card, because of that relationship with Bilt, is that you can earn points on your rent with Alaska miles if you chose to. And it doesn't require you to get the Bilt card. So there's a lot of different options for that. But I think what the hidden gem is the loyalty program and what they've done with it. So let's talk about some of the things, and I'll walk you through everything you need to know regarding this. So this Atmos Rewards program immediately takes the place of Alaska Mileage Plan. So Alaska Mileage Plan doesn't exist anymore right now. It's going to replace Hawaiian Miles as of October 1st. So let's go through the tiers. If you remember with Alaska had the MVP, it had the MVP Gold, then you had the MVP Gold 75K and MVP Gold 100K. They've renamed them into more common names, but we'll also talk about some of the benefits that come with each of the levels and what it costs to get there. So the first one is Atmos Silver, and this is replacing the MVP. This is a One World Ruby level tier for them. It's 20,000 points to reach it, and that is no change from what the MVP was originally. What you're going to get is you're going to get 2 bags for you and all of your companions on that reservation. They are not listing a number. They specifically say all companions. Now that is for the year of 2025. That will drop down to 1 bag, but still for all of you and all of your companions in 2026. So that is the base place where you're going to start. And keep in mind, if you do have the Summit card, which is the 395 card, you're going to get 10,000 points as a boost right off the bat. So you're already halfway there without taking a flight or spending $1. The next item is Atmos Gold. Now this is replacing the MVP Gold. This is where you trigger One World Sapphire. It's 40,000 points. That is no change as well. This will get you 2 bags for you and all of your companions going right now and going forward. You're also going to get priority baggage handling, and you're going to get free same-day flight changes and main cabin standby, which can be a nice benefit. The next one is Platinum, which is the replacement for the MVP Gold 75K. This is going to be One World Emerald, and it now is 80,000 points when it used to be 75,000 points. So not a major change, but it's still 5,000. The biggest difference with this one is now you can check 3 bags at no additional cost for you and all of your companions. And then there is the top level, which is Atmos Titanium. This is One World Emerald as well. This is what used to be the MVP Gold 100K. This one, though, unfortunately, did go to 135,000 points to be able to trigger it. But there are some really nice things that we'll touch on of why this still may be worth getting to. You're going to get first and business class upgrades for all flights, for all global flights, starting spring of 2026. We'll touch more on that of how big that can be. And then free meals as a titanium member. That comes with that as well, as far as with the flying experience. So that's our first part. Now let's talk about how you're earning. As you all know, the main way that you earn points is, unfortunately, for most of us, is that it is based upon how much you spend on your flights. And that's what determines how many points you're going to get from a status standpoint for most of them. Alaska has been one of the last ones that have still done it by distance, which has been something that has really been a benefit for most of us. Well, they definitely stepped it up even more as far as the options of how you can earn points. So now what you'll be able to do is you're going to be able to choose which way you want to earn points. And you get to do it, you get to make a decision each and every year. And the three options you're going to have is you can choose distance flown, and you're going to get 1 point per mile flown. And obviously, this is going to be best for if it's a year where you're going to take transcontinental or long haul international flights, you're going to be looking at doing it for miles. Then you have the option of doing it based on your price. So 5 points per dollar falls for the price paid category. And this is a case where if you're a person that pays for upgrades to first class or to other levels, premium class, this may be the one that ends up being the one that makes you the most points. And then lastly, you can do it by segments. So you would get 500 points per segment. And this is definitely going to be the one for the person that ends up flying short distances frequently, especially along the West Coast. So you're going to get the chance to make a decision every year, figure out what's going to be the way you're going to fly that year, and be able to pick out the best way that's going to make you the most amount of points. So that is really impressive of them doing that. It's already great to have the miles versus the dollars, but now everybody gets to make a choice of what's going to be best for them each year and not be locked into anything. And I think that's going to make people a lot more points that they're going to generate based on being able to make that great educated decision. Now, I talked about titanium and it going up 35,000 points. But as I said, there is one huge thing that you can get with titanium that no one else offers amongst any airline, at least US based. What you're going to be able to do is Alaska is going to be the first US airline to offer a global benefit to the top tier status. And so with that, what's the big deal with it is, especially in a market like Seattle, Delta has a very strong market there in Seattle. And of course, you've got Amazon. Amazon, from what I've read, has a very strict travel policy. And this could be something that differentiates them with Amazon for them to get more use than going with Delta. So what you're basically being able to do is anytime that you're flying global, you're going to get a complimentary day of departure global upgrade. If there's an upgrade, you will get it. It doesn't cost you any points. It doesn't cost you any certificates, nothing. As long as there is space for an upgrade into business, into first class for that flight on that day, you get it. And there is no limitation of how many times you can do it. Now, if you're flying in North America, it's not necessarily that you've got to wait to the day of. It's a little bit more flexible there as it's been previously. But to be able to fly globally and potentially get that bump up to an upgrade with no cost out of pocket, that could generate you thousands of dollars in savings very easily. And that might make a person want to go after titanium, especially if they've got multiple flights, especially international. That is unique of what Alaska is going to bring. Now, let's talk about status through spending, and that's with these credit cards. When it comes to the credit cards, the Ascent, which is the renamed personal card, you can get 1 point for every $3 spent on the card. There is a 30,000 point cap here in 2025, but there will be uncapped from that point forward, starting in 2026. And then ATMOS Rewards Visa Business Card is going to be that same 1 point for every $3, has the same 30,000 point cap this year, and then uncapped after that. And then lastly, the ATMOS Rewards Summit Visa Infinite Card is 1 point for every $2 that you spend, and it's going to be uncapped starting right now here in 2025 and going forward. And then, of course, you still get those 10,000 points that comes with the Summit card every year. So there's a lot to really like about what Alaska Airlines is going to bring. And I think that the biggest thing that I take from it is the fact that their relationship with Hawaiian Airlines and being able to use these certificates to not just be on Alaska. And this is coming from a person that has the personal card, but I really have not utilized that companion pass. And for me, unfortunately, my home airport has one single flight on Alaska, and it flies from here in the Midwest to Seattle. That's it. I don't have any other choices. I would have to go all the way to Seattle to be able to fly there, to be able to use the normal Alaskan companion pass, spending the $6,000 to get there. Now there is a lot more options that come with this that now makes this definitely something I would spend money on as far as with the personal card, and to really look at that Summit card. And what I'm going to have is right after I do this live stream, I'm going to release my video on my review of this ATMOS Summit card and give you my thoughts on it. It's one that I gave to the members early today for them to be able to see first, as I do with them all the time. But I'm going to have that out shortly, right after this. I think that it is going to be great. And I see Tim talking about it's great for him being on the West Coast, and definitely West Coast. And I talk about in the video who's it really for, who should be running for it, and who might have to think about it, and for the few people that it may not be good for. But for I think even if it's a case where you're not looking at being on the West Coast, I think because of their relationship with their partners and you being able to use that global certificate with partners, I think that now expands you from the West into being able to look at the Midwest and the East. Keep in mind, you can actually fly Hawaiian Airlines from JFK, I believe, on the East Coast all the way to Hawaii. I would definitely reposition myself to go to JFK to fly across on Hawaiian Airlines to fly to Hawaii. That's not an option that would ever existed with the Alaska Companion Pass before the relationship with Hawaiian. So that at least is there for the $95 or $99 personal credit card, which is now the Ascent. So I think there's a lot of options for all of us to look at. And I think, as I mentioned, the really the only negative that I see with the card is that it's really kind of changed. They went a totally different route of the premium airline credit card. And I talk about that in the video because if you think about everybody's premium credit card, American Airlines, United, Delta, what you're paying for at $500, $600, nearly $700, you're paying for the membership to be able to go to their lounge. That's what you're paying for. Alaska did not go that route. They did not even try to. And at that $395 mark, when you look at that premium card of what it provides, skip the welcome bonus, which is outstanding. 25,000 point global certificate plus 100,000 Alaska miles. But you're going to get a global certificate, 25,000 mile one to use all the time each year anyway. So there's more to be gained. I think there's more points to earn and to make that a real generator for most people versus the membership airline card like Delta, United, or American Airlines. But I'll be curious of your thoughts in regards to it. And let me know in the chat, in the comments, if you've already been looking at this Summit card, and if you do believe that it's a case where it is the right one for you or not. And definitely check out the video that I'll release in about 15, 20 minutes so that you can hopefully get all of the information you need about this card to really decide if this really is the game changer that I truly believe it is. And I'm not necessarily a person that really kind of hypes up too many cards, but this one at $395 really kind of puts a lot of things in reach for a lot of people without having to go to the $600-700 card for that. So make sure if any of you all got any thoughts or everything, definitely going to start getting more videos out for things, a lot of in the pipeline. And I really appreciate you all taking the time to support this channel and taking your time, especially on a Friday night, depending upon where you're located, to watch this. Definitely let me know your thoughts, questions, or anything, recommendations. I always want to hear from everybody. I just want to make this channel the best it can be for you all, because that's why I do it. I just love this space, and there's just so much to be able to do with this for really, once again, just your everyday spend. So thank you all so much. I will talk with you all soon, and look out for the video that I'll have out tonight. Thank you all so much. I'll talk with you all later.